What's up YouTube? How is it going? Welcome back to another Digimon trading card game video. My name is Renji and today I'm going to be going over my Jesmon deck profile for BT10. Let's go! Alright, so Jesmon is a lot of fun. I missed playing Jesmon in BT6 when all the bricking occurred. I played Jesmon pretty much in BT7, tried to play in BT8, and then definitely retired at last set. Getting these starter decks and being able to actually play Jesmon with more targets this time, it was just way too good to pass up. The starter deck video unboxing was amazing. I got lots of really good feedback on it. Lots of you were interested in seeing the cards in there and hearing all about them, so let's see what it's like in a list. If you're interested in more deck profiles and you like what you see here today, do me a favor, go click that subscribe button, leave me a comment about the deck that you're most excited to play this set, or the deck that you're least excited to play against. Let me know, let's run some profiles. I'm excited to share everything that I've got coming up this set. Alright, so let's get started with our eggs. First, let's talk about the sleeves. Can we have a second for the sleeves, please? These are very nice. I traded these from one of my boys at Locals. Traded 2 Skull Knight ones for it. I think it was a good trade in my opinion. Couldn't pass these up. Could not pass these up. Okay, first things first. 4 copies of Gurimon. I couldn't imagine playing anything less than this. This is probably the best egg that I think that you could run in Jesmon right now. When attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has 6,000 DP or more, draw 1. Everything in your deck above your level 3 is going to trigger the inherited effect, which only helps you find your pieces in here because we all know that this deck can brick. It's also great in the stack if you're looking for something in particular, and since you can choose the effect timings of your inherited effect, you can really try and maximize exactly what you need in that situation. There's a lot of searching for Sistermons, there's a lot of playing Sistermons from hand, depending on what you need and at which point. Picking your timing on this can be a really useful inherited effect to have in your stack. So 4 copies, standard. Last egg, the new starter deck Gurimon. This kid is too cute to not include. Look at that face. Look at that face. This kid was too cute not to include. Your turn. While you have 2 or more Digimon in play, this Digimon gets plus 1000 D. I quite like a 5th egg in this iteration of Jesmon. I definitely only played 4 before, but with the amount of rookies that you're running, which ones you kind of prioritize hard playing, which ones you want to Digivolve on depending on what you need in your hand at that point, I think a 5th egg is good in here. You're more than likely going to have 2 Digimon on the field at any given time, so this little 1k is really nice to have. And I think it's solid. 5 eggs, ship it. Alright, so next we're going over our level 3s. 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of BT6 Huckmon. There's not a huge amount to say here. If this is your first time playing or building Jesmon, then welcome. Hi, hello. This little guy is your main searcher. I would almost never Digivolve this in Raisin unless I maybe drew 2 in my opening hand and I just wanted like an extra draw on top of the search. But honestly, this guy is just such a great searcher for the deck, especially now that we have more targets. So on play, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 2 Digimon cards with Huckmon, Jesmon, or Sistermon in their names among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So Huckmon, Jesmon, and Sistermon is the majority of your deck, and you're going to get 2 targets off this guy. Amazing. I'm playing with the ratios and I'm really not sure where I sit on this, and I'll explain why in a second. Huckmon here's inheritable is when attacking, once per turn, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add all cards with Sistermon in their names among them to your hand, and place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. It's cracked. It's so good for searching, but I still can't decide if I love or hate it. 4 cost to play with no effect means I almost always want to see this in Raisin. The inheritable did come up often in testing, but it also slammed 5 pieces to the bottom of my deck, which didn't feel great. So I think this card really depends on the pilot, how comfortable you feel with Jesmon, and much like the egg, calling the shots is so important with all the search power that you have in this deck right now. Played right, I think it's such a powerful rookie in the stack, but I've definitely made bad calls with it. So right now, homie's sitting at 2. Next up, I have 2 copies of the starter deck Huckmon. Now this guy, I like it. It's foil. Your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with Sistermon in its name, gain 1 memory. It feels good. It's only 3 to play, and the inheritable is when this Digimon has Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits, it gains plus 1k DP. KDP. I love this little guy, I really do, but I'm struggling to justify its slot in the deck. I could bump up the BT7 Huck to 4 copies and keep my ratios the same, but this is shiny. The reality of the game developing enough when he's on the board, not evolved, and then just giving me +1 memory once per turn when I play a Sistermon, I'm kind of struggling to justify it. It's searchable and it's a play cost of 3, so right now I'm trialing these guys out at 2 apiece, but depending on how my rookie lineup goes, I wouldn't be surprised if I ditch this later in the format and just run 4 of the inheritable searchers. And then the last rookie I am running is 3 copies of Solarmon. Solarmon is wild. It's so nice to finally get this in red. He's a 3 play cost, 0 to Digivolve, 3k, which is nice. All turns, players can't reduce play cost. Now we've seen this in Psychmon, we now have it in Solarmon and in Chikurimon for black. I'd imagine it's coming to the rest of the colors. Floodgates are so important in this format. I played 4 games at my locals this week, played against Crossheart once, played against Blue Flare once. My Crossheart game, I won 2-1, but it was very, very close. And honestly, if it wasn't for Solarmon being such a pain in my opponent's side, I don't think I would have won those games. My games against Blue Flare, I got absolutely annihilated so fast. Solarmon came up in both games, but was so quickly taken care of because they had counters for this card specifically. So I think running 3 copies is nice. 2 copies I think is just too little, and 4 feels like overkill in this deck. If I draw it in my opening hand and I want to keep things, or there's no mulligan where you're playing, it doesn't feel great to Digivolve on it and then hopefully Digivolve over, but having those 3 copies means that you're more than likely going to be able to see it when you need it, so that's why I'm running 3. Alright, so let's get on to level 4s. This is probably going to be a shock to absolutely no one. I am playing 4 copies of the original BT6 Balhawkmon. Guys, a 5 play cost, 2 to Digivolve, 6k DP. When attacking once per turn, if you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Still so relevant. It still feels so good to pop an additional Floodgate. You can pop a Pomamon to stop you from, like, if your Sistermons are on lockdown or whatever. There's so many applications for this card to get rid of something that is ruining your day. And I honestly think that whilst this deck needs the searchable pieces anyway, if that wasn't as important for synergy, I still think I would run this guy at 4. Again, there's not really a whole lot to say about these choices for our level 4s. Having 8 searchable targets is great for consistency, and the inheritables are pretty great in most situations this format. Being able to pop something 5k or less if you have a sister, which you more than likely will, is a good way to get rid of your floodgates, maybe some blockers, or an annoying target on the field. Pomamon, I'm looking at you, homie. Next, I am running 4 copies of the new Balhawkmon from starter deck 12. Guys, a 5 play cost, 2 to Digivolve, 6k like his brother. All turns, while this Digimon has Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits, it gets +1k D. Giving your stack +1k might not feel so special on paper, but during testing, it was a gift from the absolute heavens that my top end had a little extra buff from these inheritables, plus also a bit of buff from my CLs. But the fact that it's an all turns effect actually really helped this shine through, and I kind of slept on this when I was looking at it in the deck profile. I didn't think about how great it would be, especially if you have a suspended Jesmon on field. I actually had a pretty tasty combo that came up during testing, and it was turn 2 or turn 3. I'll talk about it once we get to my level 5s, but having this in the stack was so monumental into keeping my Jesmon alive. So yeah, 4 copies. Another thing to point out on this as well is the all turns effects. Don't sleep on those. I kept forgetting that they were all turns effect, and my opponent regularly asking me how big things were, and I was like, it's 12, no way it's 14, 15, no way it's 17, because there's so many all turns effects that I didn't quite realize at the time. I didn't quite realize so many of these were all turns effects, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, moving on to my level 5s. I think everyone can probably guess what this is, but let's still talk about it and I'll explain my choices. First up is my new favorite boy, Savior Huckmon from ST12. Not only is he foiled, which is very, very nice, 3 to Digivolve. When Digivolving, this Digimon may also attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon for the turn, and it's inheritable when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has Royal Knight in its traits, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying its memory cost. Beautiful. The new kid in town is coming with a bang, my god. It had pretty big boots to fill since our last Lord and Savior got restricted to 1, but I think this guy right here absolutely delivered. Definitely not as hard hitting fitting, but I like to think that when I think of the new full stack of Jesmon, it kind of feels like it contains a similar package, but we've sort of just like merged the whole thing about a little bit and we've like mixed it all up, you know, like similar components exist, but they come from different places now is kind of how I feel about this deck right now. So first off, it gives itself Judgment of the Blade when it digivolves. Pretty sick. This can carry over to your Jesmon in the X or GX or whatever it is that you're playing, allowing you to pass over turn with Blitz, remove a potential threat, and hopefully get a security check or two out of it as well, which I think is really, really good. The Inheritable is pretty great too. For anyone who is familiar with the new Jesmon, we lost the ability to pull Sistermons from the trash with the new one. So being able to do it with the Inherited effect feels great, especially with how many new searchers there are that end up actually trashing cards. I would still like to unsuspend, but you know, like I still think it's a great effect. It's good tools to have at your disposal with this new setup. Yeah, I think it's nice. I like the new Savior as well. Plus it's foil. Foil feels good, man. Foil feels good. All right, next card I'm playing. I don't need to say anything else, right? Savior Hogmon, 3 Digivolve. When digivolving, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand without paying its memory cost. And it's inheritable. When attacking once per turn, if you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, unsuspend this Digimon. It's still a great card. I would still play 4 of them if I could. When digivolving, you can drop a free Sistermon, and with the inheritable, you can unsuspend once per turn. Wild. I miss it. But we're on to better days. I guess we're no longer hitting on this OTK style Jesmon kind of had before. It's got a bit more choice, and I quite like it because we kind of just get to try and be aggressive all game, and I like that. So yeah, one of, because it has to be a one of. Next, we are playing 2 copies of Chimeramon. Chimeramon's a 4 to digivolve normally, however you can Jawgrass or DNA digivolve this guy from 2 level 4s of any color. So when you Jawgrass, you digivolve unsuspended with the 2 specified Digimon stacked on top of each other. When digivolving, you may place 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card from your trash under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card. Then, up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1k for each of this Digimon's colors until the end of your opponent's next turn. Your turn, this Digimon is treated as also having the colors of its Digivolution cards, and whilst this has 4 or more colors, it gets plus 4k DP. I really liked including Chimeramon when Savior first got limited into BT8. Being able to use it on your CLs and then popping a red underneath to go into Jesmon felt nice and fast, but I feel like the DP reduction this set is a little bit nicer and a little bit more relevant with the DP buffs that your sisters and your Digimon can get, and also with being able to attack unsuspended with Judgment of the Blade and whatnot. So I think being able to minus something 2k across the board is a little bit more relevant this set than I think it has been before. So Chimeramon at 2. I've seen people play this at 1, and I know they kind of want to maybe keep their top end a little bit thinner in terms of their Sistermons and whatnot, but I really think this works. I really think this works at 2 copies. All right, level 6 time. Maybe a surprise, maybe not a surprise. 4 copies of the brand new starter deck 12 Jesmon. This guy is absolutely incredible. He's a 4 to digivolve off a red level 5. When digivolving, he gains Blitz, which means this Digimon can attack when your opponent has 1 or more memory. So if you digivolve for 4 and it passes over, you can still swing before your turn ends. When attacking, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand without paying its memory cost. Very similar to the Jesmon we had before. In your turn, once per turn, when you play another Digimon by an effect, this Digimon gets plus 3k DP and gains security attack plus 1. Our new main man. Honestly, when I first unboxed the starter deck, I didn't think I was as bothered about this one as I was with the previous Jesmon. I liked how old Jesmon played, and I think I was pretty ignorant to just how cracked he was going to end up being, and I found that out during testing. Blitz on this guy is huge, and getting to pop a bunch of effects as you pass the turn over is such a good feeling. It also means you don't have to be too precious with your memory as you ramp up your stack. I tried running both copies for some testing, and I just had to drop the old one, which makes me sad because it's an alt art. But I just didn't see the value in not having this one. Anytime I had old Jesmon, I think I just would have preferred to have had this one in my hand. So I'm playing it at 4 because I really want to see this as often as I can. And in my current build, I want to be putting most of my effort in with this guy. So that's why this guy's at 4 copies, no less for me in this build. Next up, we have Jesmon X Antibody, 2 copies. So this guy's a 3 to digivolve on a level 5 or 0 to digivolve from Jesmon because he's X Antibody. He is piercing, which is very nice. When digivolving, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying its play cost. Then if Jesmon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, or you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, until the end of your opponent's turn, all of your Digimon may also attack unsuspended Digimon and get 2k DP. I started with 3 and I dropped it to 2. I think this is honestly fine right now. There were so many occasions in testing when I got the X, where I felt like I would have gotten more out of Blitz Jesmon. So for that reason, I cut this one down and put Blitz Jesmon up. However, piercing is very nice, especially with the Judgment of the Blade effect and getting a Sistermon in play. Not only on Digivolve, but getting to pull them from the trash means that we can utilize our resources that little bit extra, which I really, really like. And if I wasn't playing the upcoming cards I'm about to talk about, I would possibly consider dropping this back to 3. If I end up making any variations, I think I would drop the next cards I'm about to talk about, put this guy up to 3, and then just maybe go a little bit more aggro with just the level 6s. Gankumon X Antibody. This guy, one of techie choice, I guess. Little bit of spice. I actually played this in my build before putting my next card in. Spoiler alert. And honestly, I never played it. It was mostly always pitched or trashed from searchers. It was nice for my opponent to crash into during security checks, so I was already pretty used to this playstyle when it came to just putting this guy straight into trash. He's a 4 to Digivolve off your 5s. It Digivolves 1 off Gankumon, which is not relevant in this current build. He's a blocker, which again is like, it's nice, it's defensive, it's there. When Digivolving, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying its play cost. Then if Gankumon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, or you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, until the end of your opponent's turn, all of your Digimon get plus 2k, and your opponent's effects can't return them to hands or decks or reduce their DP. Massive. Gorgeous. I love it to bits. It's a Royal Knight, so it can be searched off a bunch of your searcher cards in here. The fact that you get to play the Sistermon, and I must say, with the two X cards, it's actually kind of nice that you don't need to have X Antibody, which was a trait we saw in the X Antibody cards last set. So these both say if you have, you know, the regular version or a Sistermon in place of the X Antibody, you get to have their effect, and I think that's a really nice touch. But yeah, blocker is very nice. Playing a Sistermon from your hand or trash is tasty, like we've said, and also giving all of your Digimon plus 2k, as well as making sure they can't be bounced to hand, deck, or have their DP reduced. It's very, very welcome for wide boards in this format. In this build, I'm mostly keeping it in the pocket for an explosive play or having a bit of a defensive option if the game should get away from me, but honestly, so far, I'm actually yet to choose to play the guy. I must admit, it's been pitched loads, it's been popped under his sources, but so far I've yet to choose to Digivolve this specifically, but I know if I take it out, I'm gonna regret it. Side note, I'd actually be pretty interested in running the starter deck Gankumon with this guy and go for maybe like a bit more of a board control type thing instead of Jesmon, like essentially replace the high end with Gankumons and Gankumon X. I don't know how well it would really hold up, but I like the de-Digivolve nature on the starter deck Ganku, and with the board buff we get with this guy, it could be fun. Maybe we'll try it. Maybe I'll just sleeve them up and then I'll just try it if I'm feeling spicy. Level 7, 1 copy of Jesmon GX. 5 to Digivolve on your red or black level 6, or Digivolves for 5 with a level 6 with Royal Knight in its traits. It's 15k DP. When Digivolving, you may place 1 card with Royal Knight in its traits and a play cost of 13 or less from your hand or trash under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card. Activate one of that card's when Digivolving effects as an effect of this Digimon, then Blitz. All turns, while a card with Royal Knight in its traits is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, this Digimon gains piercing and blocker and gains security attack +1 for each such card. I wasn't going to play it. I was so happy to just have my Jesmon and my X's just flying around, cracking security, dropping some sisters for free. However, I think in at least half of my games in the last week where I've been testing this, I've ended my stack with a Jesmon X at the top, and I felt like I didn't have a next move, and I felt like my next moves that I did have were pretty underwhelming. With the CLs that let you Digivolve on play, I felt like my combos had like a ceiling and they were already wasted, and I couldn't swing any further that turn. You do leave your opponent with a fair bit of memory if you do choose to play this, even when the CLs give you some memory back, but usually it's going to leave your board feeling pretty buffed, and they're going to have to try and spend the memory removing this threat if possible. The fact that they gain piercing, blocker, and a couple of security attack means if you go Jesmon into Jesmon X into GX and pop Gankumon underneath, you're going to be swinging potentially at something that's unsuspended. You're going to be checking for 4 checks. Sorry, you're going to be checking for 4 checks, and then depending on what Sistermons you have on field, it might reboot. So now you have a 15, 16, 17, anywhere up to 21k blocker on the field that can't have its DP reduced. It can't be bounced to hand or decks with Ganku X. When you slide that underneath, you're going to play a Sistermon. It's huge. Moving on to the sisters. 3 copies of blank. 3 cost to play, 3k DP, all turns, while you have a Digimon with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its type in play. All of your Digimon with Sistermon in their names gain blocker. Tasty. On play, trigger draw 1. Also good in this deck because as we know, having the more draw power and the more search capabilities in this deck is nice because of how much it can brick. There's 3 copies. It's pretty art. I don't know what else I need to say. No, for real though, given all of your sisters blocker when you have any of your main line out is super nice right now. And the reason I'm decking 3 of these over 2 is that apart from being hit with something like Crimson Blaze, unless they're buffed, usually your opponent has to try and remove this as the source of the blocker. Having either 2 of them out on field or having the other one in your hand as a backup if they do manage to remove it is just nice to be able to continue applying the pressure on there. Also, basic draw 1's good because, as I said, this deck bricks. So good to have. It's good to have. Next up, I'm just playing 1 copy of the Sistermon blank from starter deck 12. On play, by trashing 1 card in your hand, draw 2 cards from your deck. Nice. All turns, while you have a Digimon in play with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits, this Digimon gains decoy red/black. So what this means is when one of your other red or black Digimon would be deleted by an opponent's effect, you may delete this Digimon instead to prevent that deletion. So you swing in security and you hit something that chooses to delete this Digimon. You can choose to delete Sistermon blank, so it kind of works as a blocker but for card effect. I really like this card, but I can't justify playing it at more than 1 copy right now. Trashing the card from your hand is really nice to help with the Sistermon setups because you can put, you know, your CL or something into trash. And then getting the draw 2 off it is so delicious. Decoy is fine. It's not really came up for me yet, but again, I know if I drop this, it would come back and bite me. So one of another sister target. It's good draw. I like it. Next, I'm running 2 copies of Sistermon CL from BT6. 4 cost to play. All turns, all of your Digimon with Huckmon in their name or Royal Knight in their traits gets plus 2k DP. This is in their type. Anyway, on play, gain a memory. I'd honestly like to bump this up to 3 if I could. It's just a really nice basic buff in memory gain. It feels really good to drop it for free off of an effect. But honestly, even if you have to hard play this from your hand, it's not the end of the world. It can help choke your opponent or at least leave them on like 2 because you're gaining the memory off it. But again, the effect being all turns means that your Huckmon, your Jesmon, even your Gankumon, if you want to play it, gets the buff and just adds a little bit more DP to the total that your opponent needs to try and swing over or delete them with. Next, I'm running 2 copies of the new Sistermon CL from BT10. This is very nice. Love this card a lot. On play, if it's your turn, one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with Royal Knight in its traits in your hand for its Digivolution cost. Now remember, when you play this, even if you pass over turn, your effects still need to resolve before your turn ends. So playing this still means that you can Digivolve when you've passed the turn over. And on your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon Digivolves into a Digimon with Huckmon, that's a lot of Digi in there. When one of your Digimon Digivolves into a Digimon with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits, gain a memory. If I ever decide to drop the GX and the Ganku, I think this would be the first card that I would bump up to 3 copies. Getting to Digivolve into your Savior and above into their next stage is such a beautiful on-play ability for this card to have. And then gaining a memory once per turn whenever it happens could lead into some really tasty maneuvers. You can go into your Savior for 3, for example. Say you're going for old BT6 Savior, which passes turn. You play this CL. You're able to Digivolve the Savior into Jesmon, which is Blitz. You gain a memory. When the Blitz swings, you could maybe play a second one, Digivolve into GX. The second one pops, you gain another memory. Maybe it's your turn again. It's very tasty. The amount of times I played this, which kind of brought GX into my field, I would play this to maybe go into X and have a second one in my hand, and it felt like a waste that I couldn't play this to then go up a stage further. But they're nice. I think they're really nice, and again, I would probably bump this one up to 3 if I had the space. And then the last Sistermon I'm playing is Sistermon CL from starter deck 12. 1 copy. On play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits among them to your hand. Trash the rest. Gorgeous. All turns, all of your Digimon with Huckmon in their names and Royal Knight in their traits gain reboot. Also gorgeous. Much like the starter deck blank, I like it, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. The on-play search is good because you can search any of your Huckmon pieces or your Ganku, but not being able to pick up a sister off it feels kind of bad sometimes. The only saving grace is that the rest of them get trashed. So again, we've had this chat about having more options in this deck to pull Sistermons from trash, so I guess it's a silver lining. Reboot is good though. I like that more than the decoy. Not really that your Jesmon with the buffs can be swung over a lot, but there's a lot of DP reducing effects in this set as well. So making your GX blocker live again is nice, and also making your other targets that little bit stronger just in case is also nice. You're for it. 1 copy. Don't think I would raise it up. The first option card I'm going to talk about is possibly the most cracked thing Jesmon could have received, and that is the From Master to Disciple option card that we get in Starter Deck 12. It's a 2 cost, which is really efficient for sitting within your strategy here. On main, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Huckmon or Sistermon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits among them to your hand, trash the rest, then place this card in the battle area. That is everything in your deck except Chimeramon and Solarmon, which is fine. If you're searching, you're not searching for Chimeramon and you're not searching for Solarmon here. Main, delay, so you can trash this card in your battle area to activate the effect below. You can't activate the effect the same turn it enters play. The next time one of your Digimon would Digivolve this turn, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. Huge. I love this so much. It's one of the best additions to Jesmon. It's a great searcher for finding your PCs. It gets around most Floodgate cards, except Madoki Betamon granted. And it can search itself because it's got the Royal Knight trait on it, which I didn't clock when we were doing the starter deck review. Its security effect is wild as well. I said this in the starter deck review, but let's just talk about it here as well. So on security, you reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 card with Huckmon or Sistermon in its name or Royal Knight in its traits among them to your hand, trash the rest, which is great, then place this card in your battle area. So it's this entire top effect. When you play your memory boosts and you get this top effect, it's not from security. As soon as you hit something, same with Reinforcing Memory Boost, any of those guys, when you hit it in security, it goes straight to the main area. You only get the delay effect. The fact that this gives you both means it's not wasted when it's in security, and I absolutely love that. 4 of, must have, hasty as anything. The next option card I am running is 2 copies of Crimson Blaze. This thing is just amazing in most decks right now, and I really think it's shining in this format. It's 6 memory to cast. Reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has in play. Delicious. Main, delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less, and your opponent can't play Digimon by effects until the end of their next turn. Security effect is activate the main effect. We love to see it. Wiping your opponent's board of all of their 6k and under boys feels amazing, but being able to also prevent Digimon from being played by effects for the next turn is absolute bliss this format. Crossheart, Blue Flare, even the Mirror all suffer a bit with this card. 2 copies feels fine, but again, if I could squeeze another Crimson Blaze in here, that would probably be nice. The last option card I'm playing, Judgment of the Blade. It's 1 cost. Main, 1 of your Digimon with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in its types can attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon this turn. Security, love it. You may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon in its name from your hand or trash without paying its memory cost, then add this card to your hand. I love it. It's so good. You do get this effect from the new savior, so I think a 1-of right now is fine, but the security effect actually came up more in playtesting than the actual effect. For that reason, I'd be tempted to bump it to 2 just to see the security effect more, but right now, with the build that I'm playing with the ratios that I've got, 1 feels fine. And again, I don't feel like I need to cut it because I really like the security effect when it comes up. It can be just annoying for your opponent, especially if they've tried to get rid of like your blank blocker. They hit this in security the same turn, you're able to pull that blank back, draw a card, and then suddenly you've got live blockers again. Really, really nice. Like it a lot. And that is it for the profile. You may notice that there's no red memory boosts, there's no red tamers, there's no memory setters or anything like that. I really don't think that the deck needs it. I think in its current form and in its current build with the ratios that you have, being able to abuse the memory gain that exists in this deck, using your searchers to find your pieces, and being able to pass over turn and digivolving into effects like Blitz, I think makes the deck explosive enough that you don't need to wait for the setup anymore. Let me know what you guys think. Would you change any of the ratios? Are there cards that you think I'm missing? Do you think there's cards that you think I should take out? Let me know. I'd love to know what you think about it, and if you want to try running the deck and see how it works for you, then please let me know. I've got links below to all my socials, to our Discord. Please come and talk to me. I'd love that. All right, until next time, love you, bye.